Okay, now let's talk about the grease for a minute. MVL grease is manufactured by Bell Additives also. Basically, we take one of the highest quality greases, well, let's say the highest quality grease we can buy from a major oil manufacturer, and then we put our additive package in it. The additive package consists of a lot of the same ingredients that we use in metal-based lubricant concentrate and premix. It contains the same copper and lead and a lot of the other ingredients, to include lithium and several others. We've seen dramatic reductions in friction. It has excellent high and low temperature characteristics. It performs extremely well in high temperature environments with a drop point of over 550 degrees. In low temperatures, it pumps very easy out of a gun. It does not take warming and heating to use it, so it has an excellent performance in that environment just as well. Under severe shock loading and extreme pressure, it works extremely good in those environments also. In high moisture environments, it's particularly good. And I'll take, for example, a boat trailer. Most boat trailers have buddy bearings on the trailer wheels. And what happens is the boat is pulled down the highway, the weight of the boat on the trailer will cause heat buildup in the bearings, and then the grease liquefies. You back the trailer back into the water, and then it washes the grease out because it's in a liquid form. And then you have to repack the buddy bearings there on your trailer wheels. When you use MVL grease, there's virtually no heat buildup in the bearings. In fact, if you tow a boat for 40, 50, 100 miles and get out and grab a hold of those buddy bearings, they'll almost burn your hands. They're so hot. When you use MVL grease, there's no heat buildup. The bearings will be cool to the touch. In NASCAR racing, Winston Cup, again at 190, 200 miles an hour, those hubs would get so hot that, again, when you pulled into the pit area, they would literally burn your hands if you grabbed the front wheel hubs with your hand. When you use MVL grease, there's virtually no heat buildup. We've had drivers that have said there's only one grease that would last 200 miles at a super speedway like Talladega or Daytona or Charlotte. And with the use of MVL, they've gone 3, 4, and 5 races driving in excess of 1,000 miles on one pack of grease because the friction reduction capabilities of the product are so great. In forklifts, here marine operators take using a forklift, they drop the lift down in the water to pick up a boat, even in salt water, and stick it in what they call a high and dry, a boat storage area. And they were losing bearings in that forklift every 3 to 6 months. With the use of MVL, they've gone 2, 3, and 4 years with no bearing replacement. In fact, we know of no instance where they've started using the grease and they've had to replace a bearing subsequently. In one of the largest states in the Northwest, they had street sweepers where in those little brooms that sweep the street, the bearings would literally burn up. Once a week, they'd have to take them in and replace these bearings at a cost of about $500 per bearing plus downtime and labor to go with it. And through the use of MVL grease, they have not had to replace a single bearing since they started using it in June of 1989. So again, the superior lubricating qualities of the MVL grease. There are just many, many examples in paper and pulp mills. They have these large induced draft fans, and the bearing casings will get so hot they'll literally burn your hand when you touch it. In fact, in summertime they'll blow air and water across the bearing casing just to cool those bearings down. Yet with MVL grease, there's virtually no heat buildup. You can lay your hand right on that bearing casing. It's not even warm to the touch. Again, friction reduction capabilities of MVL grease. There's hardly a single instance where use of the MVL grease would not be of benefit to either an industrial, a fleet, or an individual consumer that needs to add life to their vehicles. Trenchers, the big trenches for laying of cable and stuff like that, a lot of times because of the dirt and the dust and the sand will wear their bearings out after a week or two. And with the use of MVL grease, there's virtually no bearing wear. So no matter how adverse the environment, cold, hot, sand, gravel, water, moisture, whatever, MVL grease does an extremely good job in most grease applications. There is a couple of centrifuges at a wastewater treatment plant here in Orlando that in one of the bearing casings, it was actually running about 15 degrees hotter than the other bearing. And they burnt this bearing out after 3 months. They started using the MVL grease, and that bearing temperature dropped down 8 degrees cooler than the other bearing, which was a 23-degree net change. and they have not lost a single bearing since starting to use the grease. Many, many applications where the MVL grease can be used to solve your equipment and bearing problems.